Hello. In part 4, I'm going to show you how to take the experiment that we uploaded to Pavlovia in GitLab in part 3 and share that with another Pavlovia user. I'm then going to switch over to the other Pavlovia user's account and show you how to gain access to that repository and then clone that repository onto your computer. So let's start by going to the project window, and once you're in this window, to jump into the repository, all you need to do is click this View Code button here. Now, once we're inside GitLab, we can take a look at who the members of this project are by clicking on Settings and going to the Members tab. This will give us a list of all the current members and give us the option of inviting new members into this project. So new guy is going to invite Jordan Gallant, me, onto the project. For the purposes of this video, we can just imagine that new guy and Jordan are two separate people with two separate computers. Now, once I've selected the members that I want to invite, I can also choose the amount of permission or access to this project that I want to give them. Now, I'm going to give myself maximum permissions. If you want to learn more about what these different permissions entail, you can see all of the different actions that different levels of permission allow on GitLab. It's quite a long list, so I'm not going to start going over them. But for our purposes today, I'll just be allowing maximum access. I'm going to put my name in again. There we go. Alternatively, I can also set an expiration date for this access. So once I click Add to Project, I can now see that the members of the project have been updated, and I'm included in there with maintainer status. I'll also double check that I'm able to make changes to this repository. If I go to repository here and look at protected branches, so at the moment everything is contained in one branch, and that's the master branch. You can see there's only one, and it's currently protected, which means that only members that have a certain level of permission are able to make changes to it. And that level is set to maintainer, which I have, so this won't be an issue. I'll be able to affect changes in this project. So that's all I wanted to double check. Okay, so if I go back into the repository, I'll actually, let me just now log out, and I'm going to log in again as Jordan. So let's sign in with a different account. And now that Open Office Hour project should be visible for me in on this account. So if I open up my experiments and look at namespace, this will tell me who the owner of that project is. So all these projects are owned by me. If I go to my last page, I think it is, yeah, there we go. I can see that I have this new project that's available to me now that's owned by a new guy, which is that Open Office Hour project. I can now open it, and I can pilot the experiment. So I can take a look at what the experiment looks like, how it runs. I can see what kind of data output it generates. So I can interact with the experiment in all of these kind of meaningful ways, which is great. I can also open up the repository window here. So now I have access to all of these files. So now as Jordan, if I want to then start making changes to the PsychoPy experiment, so I can imagine maybe new guy needs some help in some of the manual coding in his experiment, and he's kind of brought me onto the project and asked me to make some changes. So I need to be able to open all of these files in PsychoPy, but retain a secure connection back to this repository. Now, because the owner of this repository is not me, I'm not going to be able to create a new Git folder that connects me back to it. So that means that I have to clone this repository rather than simply download it. If you're only interested in downloading the project itself and then uploading it onto a different account, you don't need to do this. You can simply use this button here and download all of the files that are included within this repository. But I need to do something more. I need to make sure that I copy all of the files along with the crucial Git folder that, again, if you remember, contains that kind of connection or bridge between a local folder and the repository online. So in order to do that, I need to clone this repository. So if I click on this button here, this will allow me to copy the location of this repository onto my clipboard. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now what I need to do is open up command prompt, like we did when we were creating our SSH keys. From here, I'm going to navigate to the folder on my desktop where I want to store this new experiment folder. So for me, I keep all of my experiments on my desktop. So I'm going to navigate there using a command cd, which means change directory. And so because desktop is included in this Jorda folder, I can just jump into it that way. Alternatively, cd ... goes back one. I can also go back again. I can type in manually the entire path to that folder, and it should bring me there. Oops, sorry. If I actually include the CD part at the beginning, CD, there we go. And that will bring me to my desktop. Now that I'm on my desktop, I'm going to use a git command. The git command is called git clone. What this will do is it's going to look for a git repository and copy that into a local folder. So it needs two arguments, essentially. The first will be this location of the repository online that I've copied, and I'm going to paste it in here. And the second argument that it needs is the name of the local folder. So I'm just going to call this Open Office Hours Jordan and click enter. And what it's going to do is it's going to look at that repository online, copy all the folders into that new local folder that it's now created. So if I go to my desktop, I should now be able to see a new folder there that's called OOH Jordan, right next to OOH new guy. All right, so now you can imagine that if I'm a different person with a different computer, I now have access to all of these experiment files on my local computer, as well as this very crucial connection between my local folder and the repository online. So what I've now created is essentially one single repository online and two local folders contained on different computers that can then affect changes to that project located online. So what we'll do in the next video is go over some of the git commands that you need in order to start interacting and making changes between your local folder and the repository online. Okay, I'll see you in the next video.